Mr.
C7M
Greco?
is execute Amendment 7, Tyler Technologies ERP system. Pulled by Commissioner Greco.
Okay, I would ask the clerk to say that again and say loudly the number of amendments there have been.
It's
in the
execute Amendment 7, Tyler Technologies Inc. ERP system.
title. Okay, so I pulled this because it's Amendment 7. Okay, Amendment 7 to a contract and changing all sorts of dates. If nobody's watching the bouncing ball on this, this is the current vendor for both the enterprise resource planning for city employees and the online permitting software for residents and businesses. And I know that one of the frequent emails that many people get up here or complaints are still with the permitting system and trying to get online and the ramp up and everything else. And this is not a comment on staff, and it's definitely not a comment on Mr. Taxis, but I want to talk about how frequently people are complaining about the Citizen Access Portal. I want to point out that both villages of Key Biscayne and the City of Hollywood have both terminated their agreements with Tyler. And whether or not this goes forward, I have an expectation that by the end of the year, we are going to be completely reevaluating our relationship with this vendor. And I wanted this to be pulled because I wanted both my colleagues to kind of raise an eyebrow a little bit, but I think that the general public as well, I think it's completely inefficient. And I regularly use the line that it took 410 days to build the Empire State Building in the 1930s, and it's 2017, and we've got a whole bunch of tech people up here who are forward-thinking and progressive, and I feel like we're using we're like using old school welders, and we're like hammering things into slate, and we're way behind on this, and I just don't get it.
So I have a question, Mr. Manager. How much money have we spent to date on Tyler Technologies and this very flawed system?
Mark, I don't have that exact number. in front of me.
Billions, right?
It was a multi-million-dollar project, yes.
I agree with Commissioner Greco on this. I get complaints about this system all the time. I see other large institutions transferring to PeopleSoft and these other really progressive systems, and I feel like what we have in the city of Miami Beach is completely fragmented. And I know that they said that we're redoing our website, but if we don't redo the website with a new comprehensive ERP, it doesn't make a difference. So I think that we should be moving in a different direction with this. How do the rest of you feel about this?
I also hear complaints, but I'm not close enough to it to see what's really going on. The question I have, right, because I've been in these situations myself in private business, the question for staff is, putting aside whoever made this decision and, pride of ownership and CYA, is this the path to go? I mean, is your professional recommendation to continue down this path, or are you willing to say, hey, we might have made a mistake and let's just cut our losses and do something else? Because, we sit up here as a board, right? But you're doing the work. It's hard for us to say, cancel the contract and go in another direction, because we're just not in the weeds like you are. So we really rely on your recommendation. And so I'm asking you today, are we at a point where you've lost confidence in this product and this vendor, and are you willing to say, let's cut our losses and head in another direction? And I know that's a hard decision to make, but you're going to guide all of us down a path, and if that path is bad, it's going to be bad for staff.
I would love to hear from our building official, Mr. Fernandez. Would you come up and tell us a little bit about the system and what you think is working and what you think isn't working? I think that certain people are trying to find historical permits. It's difficult. What do you think about Tyler Technologies and the system we have?
Good morning, Vice Mayor, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I think, like the Assistant City Manager say, changing from a system that everybody has been used to for years to use to a new system brings a lot of challenges to the clients and to the staff and to everybody. We're working with the system. It may be not the best one. This is what we have, and we still find things can be improved, and we have been working with the IT department and with the vendor in trying to get some of the configurations modified so we get a little bit ahead of what the problems that we find every day. It's challenging sometimes, especially for the public, because there's not a very friendly way to obtain the same level of information that it was before, and I think that's most of the problems that they had. And there were some changes and modifications in the way the inspections were called, but we reacted to that over a year ago. We created a new sections of inspections. We put additional personnel in the building department, and we do it by hand, so you call us or you come to see us, so there is no delay in the job sites because of an inspection. We in the town meeting that we have in the north and here regarding the EnerGov, we inform everybody that the building department record section will produce at no cost any record that they cannot find easily and online. So I think, like the assistant city manager, Ms. Mark said, we are in the process to make it a little bit better and more friendly, but at the same time, we put parallel systems and processes in place so that people don't suffer because they cannot find easily the information that they want.
Madam Chair?
So at this point, I think we're working on it.
Commissioner Grieco,
Yeah,
wait, let me just add very quickly that I get complaints all the time because there's no historical information on properties available. And then people, I know that you're saying that it's free, but people have been charged thousands of dollars to go back and get these records. And maybe they requested them from the wrong department.
Maybe they're requesting it through the clerk's office or something is wrong because my department has specific orders, and that's the agreement that we have with the city manager, to produce any information that is requested at no charge when it's due to EnerGov, either no education on how to handle it or how to get it from the outside.
The idea of a new system is to make access to information easier, not more difficult.
Right.
So I feel like what we've done now is we put ourselves in an area where nobody can access historical data if they don't go through the government. And before, when we had, what was it, Muni code?
No, it was Permit Plus. Okay.
Velocity Hall.
The city went into a major task changing financial and the building department software, so it's in the middle of everything. But the previous program, it was Permit Plus. It was very friendly, but very old. And I must say, we have no choice. The vendor came to us and said, we're not going to support you anymore. This is a dead end. So you need to go into a new software.
So, Commissioner Grieco?
Yeah, just briefly. I just want to kind of sum this up, and it's kind of why I pulled it. I'm not suggesting that we throw the baby out with the bathwater today. I think it's a valid discussion to be having in April, because whatever makeup of this panel is in December is going to be having this conversation again. I'm predicting it now. Everything that I'm hearing from you, Mariano, and everything I'm hearing from you, Mark, is we've had to adjust the way we do business to fit their inflexible software. I remember, Commissioner Ariola had to put an item on regarding they couldn't take the partial payments for the cafe fees anymore because the software wasn't flexible. And it's not just how much money we've paid them. I'm hearing now that we have to adjust our staffing and we have to create we're paying contingencies and we're creating parallel systems and all of these things to make their model work for the way we do business. When ideally in 2017 you would want a software program and you would want a framework that would adjust the way we do business, and not the other way around. So it's frustrating to hear that, we get it. It was the end of life for the previous software program, but does that mean we have to take a step backwards? Which is what I feel that we have done, and I'm hearing that it's taking 3 years, and life is short. And people don't want to hear that doing a transition in technology takes 3 years when in the private sector you can do it in a month. So that being said, I think that this is a
Commissioner Ariola wanted to.
Yeah, no, I think that this is a worthy conversation to have. I'm more than happy to move this today while I hold my nose. But at the same time, I think that this is not an example of how our 2017 seamless Miami Beach government should be running.
Thanks. I'm glad you pulled this, Commissioner Ariola.
Yeah, I was going to say thank you for pulling this. I just want to tell staff and also love to hear any comments you might have, Jimmy. If we made a mistake, that's okay. Mistakes get made. Let's fess up. Let's not go down this path if we don't have confidence that this is the solution. Because I will tell you that if at the end of the full implementation, if it doesn't work, there is going to be hell to pay. Because I'm asking you today, if there's a mistake, fess up, and we can pivot, learn from a mistake, and go in another direction. But if you're saying keep going down this path that this is going to work, and it doesn't work, that's not going to be a good thing for staff.
I would like to suggest that we begin to research other systems that are working very well in building departments similar to ours, to see if we can try to research an alternate. Now, I agree with him. We all know that the system is slightly flawed, and at this point, we've invested millions of dollars, so maybe we just have to take the loss and move on. We've heard way too many complaints.
Here, you got people in line for hours. So there are challenges, but I acknowledge I'm not happy with how it's happened, but I think at this point, to start over at this point would be extremely expensive. And
First of all, I've talked about this system several times with Mariano, with Assistant City Manager Texas, with Jimmy. We've talked, and I've asked you, Jimmy, are you there yet? Are you ready to pull the cord on this? I think you're on track to keep an eye on this. I'll also say that it's not just about did we make a mistake because software selections are very difficult. They're very difficult, and software vendors will tell you anything to sell you their system. And then it's not just about the functionality of the software. It's how you get the data in there and what you integrate it to. It's about your testing methodology and whether you properly anticipate all the different user scenarios. So what I would recommend at this point, and I want to phrase this as a motion, okay, as a referral to finance. I would ask both of you to work together and include whoever else from staff and the community, and let's identify and write down explicitly what are the gaps between what we have right now and two things, what you used to have. In other words, if we had to walk away from capability because of this implementation, what are those functions and features that either the community doesn't have access to now or staff doesn't have access to now? So what are the gaps compared to what we used to have? And what are the gaps as compared to what we wrote were our requirements in the original statement of work? Discrete gap list. And I want Tyler to come here and address the finance committee and explain what they're going to do to get us there. Because as much money and time and how many years we've put into the implementation, the strength of the relationship is really the long-term relationship, at least from Tyler's perspective. And they really have a relationship obligation to us to come here. They know their system better than anyone and help us close those gaps and help us understand whether they can help us close those gaps or whether they can be closed through integration partners that they may have, etc. So they need to come tell us how that discrete gap list is going to get filled, knowing that if that gap list is so substantial from a value standpoint, then they may not be the partner for us. And it sounds like this commission is prepared to make that decision if it needs to.